Sutton Coldfield YMCA are looking to deliver two fairly ambitious projects and are seeking investment. The first project is the redevelopment of existing accommodation, and for that project the organisation is looking for 700,000, and that's kind of relatively low risk from a banker's perspective. Also, they are, as a separate project, developing a brand new youth and community centre which will focus on providing services specifically for young people with physical and learning disabilities, and that's a higher risk project. It's a new build, it will be new business, so higher risk. So that sets the context for our session. Before I get into the detail of the work we're doing with Clive, I'd like to pass you over to Clive to talk a little bit about the Sutton Coldfield YMCA. Thank you.
Thank you. The YMCA is active over 130 countries with just more than a song, as you know. Everyone knows the song. In all them countries, over 20 million people participate in YMCA activities. In England alone, we have 127 individual YMCAs doing different things, from gyms, childcare to housing the homeless people. We house over 9,000 young people every single night. We are the biggest provider of single person's accommodation. And Sutton Coldfield, we were founded in 1900. Since 1992, we've been based at Watson Close, and that's a picture of our site, in the suburbs of Sutton Coldfield. Properties around us are very expensive, and people don't expect a YMCA to be there. We work with over 8,000 children per year, and currently the hostel houses 36 people, and last year we housed actually 85 over that period. Our current work includes young carers, disability projects, youth work, youth leadership, family support, life coaching and children's holiday clubs. And then I'll pass you over to you. I will tell you a little bit more about the YMCA because I missed it out. But did you know that the first scout group was actually started in a YMCA in Birkenhead in 1908? A lot of people play basketball or volleyball, also invented in a YMCA. If you actually went to a gym and you wanted to become a gym trainer, the best qualification you can hold is a YMCA qualification. Youth work was introduced as a concept as a YMCA. During the war, the YMCA operated mobile canteens across the battlefields of Europe, and on the home front they supported soldiers sleeping rough and on the streets. And what most people don't realise was the poppy was introduced by the YMCA as a symbol of remembrance before being passed on to the Royal Legion. So just some interesting facts for you to remember.
Thanks, Clive. Okay, so talking a little bit about the first project that YMCA are doing. It's a 700,000 redevelopment of its existing site, and you saw that on previous slides. The organisation is already housing numerous young people from a variety of backgrounds, and what this project will enable the organisation to do is increase that number by around 25-30% in terms of units of accommodation, which is a big step change for the organisation. But I think probably more important is the fact that the quality of the accommodation will improve as well. A lot of the people at the moment there are in single rooms without any facilities, so it's all shared facilities. A large proportion of the units going forward will at least have a ensuite bathroom and kitchenette area, and actually there will be a number of units there which will be fully fledged flats, and those will be earmarked for people for longer term settlement of people with learning disabilities. So it's not just about more. It's about what's happening, which is a lot better. At the same time, the organisation is still minded to keep that community feel going So residents will still be encouraged to have breakfast together, etc., etc. Okay. Getting back to this kind of risk profile, which is important for the funding, because the YMCA is already in the business of providing this accommodation, it is by virtue of that, it's a much less riskier proposition from a funder's perspective. The organisation has waiting lists for its accommodation, and also there is a proven demand in the area for accommodation, especially for people coming out of care with learning disabilities. So the demand is there. And it's also recognised by Birmingham Council's Homeless Department as a blueprint for the future. And it's a blueprint because instead of putting one demographic of people together in one space, there's a mixture of people there. There's people there from overseas. There's some of the tenants that have jobs, some don't have jobs. So that mixed model works because people kind of feed off each other. So that's important too. The second project that the organisation is looking to get funding for is actually a £3 million facility, a new build facility, which will focus, it's kind of seen as a community centre come sports facility. And that will focus very much on providing services for young people with low level to very high level profound physical and learning disabilities. So again, it's a resource that will be used for people far beyond Sutton Coldfield. It will reach out to people throughout North Birmingham. But in addition to that, I'm sure we all know Sutton Coldfield is a very leafy, lovely place, but there are pockets of deprivation. The location for the new facility is very, very close to, almost adjacent to Falcon's Lodge. So as well as providing sports facilities, community facilities, etc., for people with learning disabilities and physical disabilities, it will also provide services to the local population as well, the hyper-local population. So it's doing two things, really. We've already spoken about the services for physical and learning disabilities. The eagle-eyed amongst you may have noted that the funding requirement is 1 million, but the capital build is 3 million. The project is also funded by the property developer, who, as part of their obligations under S106, is putting up 2 million of the cost, which of course makes it a lot more feasible as a project. Okay, just very quickly, I'll just talk about some of the work that we're doing with the YMCA. Sutton Coldfield YMCA has been around a long time, so in terms of their organisational maturity, it's there. They have good governance structures in place. And what that's meant is that the ICRF funded work that we're doing with them is very focused. It's focused on getting the investment that they need for the two projects. And that means helping to develop a focused 5-year business plan, along with supporting financial projections. And that's a big part of the work that we're doing. So in terms of the financial projections, that's the usual stuff: income and expenditure, balance sheet, cash flow, the kind of stuff that funders and investors will want to see. So we're helping with that. We're also helping with the funding competition, and I'd like people here to pay particular attention to the word competition. Many of you'll all have a copy of this in your delegate pack. What we would like to see, and I think a lot of people in the sector would like to see, is more competition. Friendly competition, but you can't have a social finance market unless there's some level of competition. So we're helping them to set that up, and I'll talk a little bit more about that on my last slide. We're also helping with a marketing strategy for the new youth and community centre. Clive doesn't need any assistance at all in terms of marketing the accommodation, because they do accommodation, they have a waiting list, they know the market, but the the venture into the Youth and Community Centre is new, and the organisation recognises a need to really understand that market, to do a full market assessment, and then to develop a marketing strategy and marketing plan so that it gets the revenue that it needs to make this work. And as importantly, is able to convince funders that it's able to generate the revenue. And last and absolutely not least, we are doing some work with the organisation around social impact measurement systems. This becomes increasingly important. The board at YMCA are fully aware that they make a huge social impact on people's lives. There's absolutely no doubt about that. What YMCA need to do, though, is to be able to convince particularly commissioners, local authority commissioners, that the value they add, of the social value they add, and potentially the financial impact of that value. Finally, I just want to talk a little bit about what we see as the key steps in terms of getting funding. Now, this is very much geared towards the kind of funding that Clive is looking for, but the principles remain true regardless of the size of the organisation and regardless of the level of funding that you're seeking. The first thing is get real. Funders, even social funders, want their money back. So, it's important right from the outset. If you're going out to market, if you're going for loan finance, quasi-equity, the funder will want their money back, and that has to be the starting point for the organisation who's going out there. Then it's about knowing your business. And when we say know your business in this sense, I'm talking about the risk profile from a funder's perspective. And the risk profile will be determined by a number of factors, such as the security of your markets that you're in, how long the organisation's been around, the level of funding that the organisation's looking for, those kind of factors, and of course whether you have any assets for which to put forward a security for the loan. It doesn't mean that if you ask and answer all those questions and you don't get a great answer, it doesn't mean you can't go out to the market. It just determines the market that you go out to, and this is the key thing. It would be great if within the social finance sector there was something like Go Compare or Social Money Supermarket, because that would allow organisations, investees, to go out to the right organisations, and that's how we like to think we're able to help, is that we're able to look at the organisation's risk profile and use that to kind of guide us into deciding which of the funders is appropriate. When we say check out the funders, we mean go and talk to people, pick up the phone, speak to the banks, speak to people like Big Issue Invest, and start to build those relationships way before you put in the business to develop, before you issue a business plan. But please don't share half-baked numbers and half-baked business ideas with funders. What they want to see is a rock-solid business plan. Okay, then go to market. And when we say go to market, that would typically involve issuing a business plan to known, warmed-up funders and investors, and then following that with site visits, so the investors can actually come and see exactly the social value that your organisation adds. That process will generally, if done correctly, will generally lead to offers from funders. And at that point, and it's actually picking the point at which you close the competition and pick your partner, your funder for the project, is actually quite critical, because if you do it too early, you may actually find that you don't really have a funder in place. You just thought you had a funder in place. If you leave it too late, you've invested a huge amount of time, as too will the funder, in developing something it's just we have to consider time constraints, especially as you move into the due diligence process. So we would recommend stopping the process and picking your funder before due diligence, but ideally after the funder has giving you an offer that's been through its own credit committees. I hope that guidance is useful. We've kind of expanded to a degree in this leaflet here, which is in the packs, and I hope it's applicable to all the people potentially seeking funding in this room.